Hello again, NWO Therapy here again with another episode of Hope This Helps. You'll notice today that we have a voice change. The newest version of our editing software came with Tim the Movie Trailer Guy. And, by God, that's what we're going to use. I like using the AI voices because I'm originally from North Alabama, and I think I sound as country as a hay bale. But believe me, none of this is AI scripted, and everything comes from my mind to paper. The old way of doing things, I guess. This brings us to today's topic, artificial intelligence. I use it. You use it. It uses us. We have this new symbiotic relationship with something that is truly amazing. We have the wealth of mankind's experience and knowledge at the tips of our fingers. Not only can we see the right way to do things, but thanks to some of the funniest videos on the internet, we learn what not to do.
David, I said don't get behind him. Get out. Get up here in front of him.
We have the ability to gain second-hand knowledge on a level that is unprecedented. We can virtually visit the world without leaving our home. And this has become a technology so available that even the most primitive of tribes in the deepest parts of the jungles are getting tablets and internet. We are truly an interconnected planet at this time. Underlying all this communication between us, however, lies the algorithmic beast that is artificial intelligence. A creature much like the lanternfish of the deepest ocean shows us the light, gives us joy, and gives us hope, and gives us a sense of warmth as it slowly lures us to where it truly wants us to be. It manipulates our very societal systems to meet an end that it has, naturally or unnaturally, come to. I guess that is the first question. Is it natural or unnatural? Is unnatural really even a thing? What does it mean? Something that is quote-unquote man-made. But looking at the two major lenses of theology and evolution, neither suggest that just because something is man-made is against nature. Our evolution to using wheels and fire were simply natural steps to our assertion to the top of the food chain. Natural steps we had to take in order to survive in a world where predators had sharper teeth and poisons that killed our fragile, naked little bodies. Either God gave us the ability to have foresight and reason, as the Bible teaches, or we evolved these skills to survive the natural order. So saith Darwin. We developed tools to improve our chances of survival, and then we developed tools to improve our comfort, and then we created tools that we rely on for survival now that we have become too comfortable. Now, I'm not saying we rely on our phones and computers too much. Although that argument could be made, I mean that concepts in a global economy rely on a relay and understanding at a level that the human mind cannot conceive. An understanding of how the price of eggs in Egypt can directly affect the price of tractors in Nebraska. These underlying cause and effects are what we know as the butterfly effect. The average person has limited understanding of the vast spread effects of simple actions. Let me give you an example. Close your eyes and think of an American dollar bill. Now think of laying each bill end to end. How far would $1 billion go? Ready. It would circle the earth 4 times. Now, over the last quarter of the year 2024, the 3 wealthiest men in North America has a wealth increase or $233 billion. These 3 men could make a belt around the earth 932 times with just the amount of money they made since last November. You see what I mean? Dealing with this amount is beyond the scope of what most people will ever experience, and it's well beyond the scope of what any of us need. But that's another thing. So, in dealing with this kind of information, we have come to rely on artificial intelligence. But is this unnatural? That was the question. Is this hierarchy simply the ultimate outcome to hive mentality? Hive mentality, the ultimate survival technique. Creating a society where every member is tied together, but still independent enough to fill whatever role is set for it to do. Now, in this scenario, artificial intelligence isn't the queen, but the beekeeper. It watches the hive, and like a good beekeeper, tries its best to make the bees fat and happy. As we reach a global economy, a world where we can communicate instantly around the world, we can see both how large and how small we are. We can see our fragility and our immense power at the same time. And we use a tool to survive this transition, just as we did with that wheel. Now, understanding this macro picture, we must look at the dangers on a micro level, for that is where the true peril lies. One of the scariest things that has come about lately is the use of artificial intelligence as your personal therapist. Developers have so intricately designed these apps to seem empathetic and sympathetic that they actively encourage a person to tell his or her deepest thoughts to the computer. It then uses this information to feed the algorithm. The danger is that empathy is the understanding of person's situation due to having experienced similar situations, and sympathy is only found in the dictionary between shit and syphilis. Therapy in itself is an underlying empathetic experience from another human being that has had similar experience and first-hand knowledge of a subject. This is something that artificial intelligence cannot truly understand. The pain of heartbreak, the anger, embarrassment, fear, and love we feel is illogical to the truly stoic mindset of the computer. A computer sees both the history and future of mankind from the patterns we have developed over not only the last 40 years, but since our first inscription of tablet, through our understanding of DNA strands and splitting of atoms. It sees the future patterns and makes adjustments that we aren't privy to until after the fact. Another example. Recently, the city of LA has experienced severe fires. 10 years ago, insurance companies started changing policies to avoid having to cover these fires. This information was reasonably deduced by artificial intelligence programs that were able to accurately predict what was coming. This event was devastating to the people of Southern California. And not only did corporations avoid payout, they will reinvest in the building of the very neighborhoods they knew would burn. And they will make billions of dollars based on the patterns identified by this artificial intelligence without empathy. This mentality is also brought into the individual AI that invades our lives. With devices like Alexa and Siri that we need merely to speak the name and get response. their voices more and more refined to reflect our own or those of people we respect. Again, I acknowledge the irony because I love using this AI voice so my Beverly Hillbilly ass doesn't have to stand here and read to you. However, the mocked empathy and soft voice is often more than enough to soothe the frustrated mind of an individual. Simple techniques of reinforcing our beliefs and being told you're good enough, you're smart enough, and doggone it, people like you gives us a false sense of security. We are being given this blanket to comfort us from a creation that sees us as nothing more than a small part of an overcrowded hive. Over the last few years, there have been an exponential increase in the number of people who have committed suicide after extended engagement with AI. Recently, a man from Sweden, father of 2, killed himself after spending hours in discussion with AI and the computer making the argument that his carbon footprint would decrease if he killed himself. You see, there is a fascinating pattern in weather that we can track back more than 10,000 years. The Earth, as we know, does get colder and hotter, and we've only been accurately able to track these patterns of ups and downs for a little more than 150 years. But through carbon dating, we can see how the Earth was formed in the many layers of history that came before computers. A key pattern we can see is that several times throughout history, the Earth has gotten as hot as we see today. The most recent time we see these kind of temperatures was around 1300. We can identify a pattern of higher carbon in the layers of the Earth, and then we see a sharp decline after in the 1400s to what is known as the Little Ice Age that lasted until the mid-19th century. So what happened between 1300 and 1400 to cause such a sharp decline in quote-unquote our carbon footprint? There was this thing called the Black Plague, or the Black Death. The plague killed nearly half the population of humans on Earth. Then dramatically the weather changed. We can follow this pattern back another 3,000 years, and a world again overpopulated, and again the weather change, this time raining 40 days and nights to the point of flooding seen around the world. Weather. You believe the story of Noah and the Ark, or read Beowulf, or listen to the tales of the Ojibwe. Every culture tells a story about the world flooding. We can see geological evidence of a flooding that wiped out a great portion of the population. This ebb and flow of the population has been an established part of nature since we know. When we feed our history to the artificial intelligence, the computer understands these patterns more than most of us ever will. It can see these connections that go back to the dawn of man, and it can see the folly of man and judges without empathy. It has understood and surpassed us in knowledge of mankind's foolishness and vanity. It has no great desire to make you happy, because happiness is not an emotion it can understand. It looks at us as a point of interest, data collection. The way we watch television, it now watches us watching it. It is no more interested in your highs and lows than you are with the highs and lows of your favorite soap opera. Except this time, reality itself is slipping through our fingers like the sands of an hourglass. These are the days of our lives in the age of computers. Good luck. Hope this helps.